Good morning. My name is Sandy Meyer. My pronouns are she and her, and it is my pleasure to sit on your Board of Trustees. If you are here for the first time, thank you for joining us. We look forward to getting to know you. We invite everyone present in the sanctuary today to join our in-person community time immediately following the service. Each week, we remind ourselves of this congregation's core values: connection, transformation, justice, and acceptance. Our relational health team is leading a revisiting of the relational covenant that the congregation approved April 2023. All are welcome to attend one of the two 90-minute listening sessions and share their input about the current covenant or suggestions for change. The sessions are in person here in the sanctuary at 12:15 today, and a virtual-only session on Tuesday at 6:30. Check the e-beacon for information on how to register for the Tuesday session. With winter coming, there's an acute need for new and gently used winter hats, coats, gloves, and boots for our immigrants in our area. You can contribute these items here this week or next week following the services. See the e-beacon for more information. Reverend Roger would like to make an announcement.
Good morning, I'm Reverend Roger, and my pronouns are he, him. And just to be clear too, I wrote the thing about the relational covenant that if you want to come to today's session, you don't have to register. Just come back in this space at 12:15. Wanted to share that Reverend Emily is, in a very rare occurrence, sick today. So when you see her name in the order of service, you'll see me instead. want to warmly invite you to join me and however many folks want to join from Unity Temple in going up to Milwaukee on Saturday for a Get Out the Vote canvassing. I was first a canvasser when I was 9 years old in 1972, and it is an amazing thing to do. So I'm going to be driving a car up there. We need some more people to drive cars. We got the more cars, the more people can make it. We're going to be doing this with UU the Vote and First Unitarian Society of Milwaukee. And so love to have you seize this opportunity to make a difference, a small difference, but this election is going to need a lot of small differences. See the Democracy Central table in Unity House following the service if you'd like to indicate your interest in this. Finally, from me, an update on the annual fund drive progress. There is, we made good progress over the last week. Still a ways to go with a week to go. And I want to share three things with you today. First of all, I did pledge. After I told you last week, I didn't. Second one is that this week, volunteers are going to start following up with people. So this is the point where if you're procrastinating, that's going to start impacting other people who have to call you. So think about that, your fellow members. And then finally, a few people have suggested that last year's quicker pace was because you were all trying to impress me. So what I want to say today is that I am really, really hard to impress, and it takes at least 18 months. So just to keep that in mind, let's get it finished. And to remind us why this actually matters, let's hear from Abby McEntee.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Abby McEntee. My pronouns are she, her. I joined Unity Temple 9 years ago, and the time I've spent here with you all has taught me so much about giving and the joy that follows. I remember years ago as a new member being genuinely impressed with the great effort and giving it took from all of us to add the 1019 building into our congregation. Well, fast forward to just last year, when I woke up one early Saturday morning on the floor of 1019. I had spent the night chaperoning an 8th grade owl sleepover there. I watched 20 young teens groggily emerge from their sleeping bags, stumble over to grab bagels, settle themselves in a circle, and start quizzing each other on pop culture trivia, which then somehow morphed into a debate on philosophy. I remember thinking in that moment, this is some pretty good joy coming from all that giving. My greatest joy has come from leading in the kindergarten the last 7 years. Wow, have they been fun to hang out with. We've adopted trees at the park to watch them change over the seasons. We've gotten endlessly sticky making crafts, and we've danced around classroom maypoles in the spring. Every year, we ask for financial pledges. The giving keep our joy flowing here for another year together. I know we all have endless examples from our own journeys of how giving and joy have connected at Unity Temple. So thank you so much for everything each one of us gives, and may it bring us much joy. Thank you.
We are so glad that you are here with us today, and whether you are here in person or virtually, we hope you find this service inspiring and meaningful. I now invite those who are here in person to take a moment to greet each other. Good morning.
Thank you. Yeah, that was fabulous.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
I'm going to squeeze
All right.
through this.
Good.
So nice to be here with you.
Finding somebody. our chalice lighter this morning is named Nina, and Nina's family color is maroon, and Nina likes to garden. Let's join in the chalice lighting words. We are Unitarian Universalists. This is the church of the open mind, the loving hearts, the helping hands. We take care of the planet Earth and each other.
Hello. I'm Nina Brewer Davis. I use she, her pronouns. Citizenship, to me, is about belonging to a place and a group of people. The idea holds so much more than this, of course, with its ties to the sovereignty of the people, to legal rights, to privileges, so on. But at its core, it is a form of connection. I haven't always felt a strong sense of belonging to my country. For me, that particular flavor of disconnection was through growing up in an anti-establishment household in the shadow of the 60s. But there are many paths to disconnection, I think. Then at 18, I was eager for adventure, and that took me to university in Montreal, Canada, where I lived for most of the next 4 years. I reveled in the experience of being the foreigner. Canadians are, understandably, both very knowledgeable and very resentful of the United States. And sometimes, by the way, it can be very funny. I recommend the Canadian sketch comedy show called This Hour Has 22 Minutes for some Canadian humor. Eventually, though, the jokes about Americans, they started to wear on me. You can only hear so many times people say to you, "What, you're American? You don't act American." Before starting to feel that maybe there's something a bit narrow about people's idea of what that means. I realized that I am American. The United States is a big country, and it is big enough to include me and my vision for what this country stands for and what it can become. So when I hear people joke about how if the election doesn't go their way, they'll move to Canada, I cringe. It's not that different from when people joke that if you don't like it, just leave, right? Both versions trivialize the meaning of citizenship. It's not that Canada isn't a nice place to live. It really is. It really is. But my country is part of who I am. Right now, it needs me. It needs all of us. Whoever you are, wherever you are on your life journey or in the world, you are welcome here. Come, let us worship together. Please rise in body or spirit for the opening congregational song, Every Time I Feel the Spirit. You can find the words in the gray hymnal number 208 or on the screen.
Please remain standing as we read the words of our covenant. Love is the doctrine of this congregation, and the quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve humanity in fellowship, to the end that all souls shall grow in harmony with the divine. Thus do we covenant with each other and with God.
Good morning. My name is Diana Coates, and my pronouns are she, her. I'm part of our spiritual care team, and love is the doctrine of this congregation, and sharing our joys and our sorrows of our lives with each other is one of the ways we embody love in this congregation. Those attending in person may share your joys and sorrows in the binder outside the doors to the sanctuary. If you would like to talk with someone about something that is on your heart, please feel welcome to contact the spiritual care team. We are here to listen and to sit with you in times of joy and sorrow. You can also email your joys and sorrows to us at spiritualcare@unitytemple.org. Well, there's just one joy today, and that is Ireland has come to me. As a lot of you know, I go to Ireland quite often, and my daughter and one of my granddaughters are here in person, so I'm thrilled to have them. Great. Got to settle down from that now. We know that some are holding joys and sorrows in silence. We invite anyone who has a joy or a sorrow to come forward and put a stone in the bowl in one of the 4 stations we have around the room. We invite you to engage in spiritual practice of silence during this shared ritual. Let us begin.
Our words of meditation are "Breathe with me" from Susan McGinn. Breathe with me. You will feel sorrows crossing across the oceans, calling across the room, echoing in the spacious cavern of your chest. Breathe with me. You who wake with the sun, carrying a restlessness to make justice and do mercy. Breathe with me. You who walk humbly, accepting that your gifts for the world will be made by you. You, a soft creature who must pause for meals, water, laughter, and rest. Breathe with me, you who sing by heart songs of peace, hope, and joy, you who love this world into a home. Breathe with me. Amen. And I invite you, if you would like to be close for the story, to come on down. Hi. There's more. So when Reverend Emily when I have an idea for something I want to talk about, I'll say, do you know any books about this thing? And Reverend Emily will find a bunch of books. And so sometime last spring, I was looking at a bunch of books like this one, and this was in the crowd, in it, and I thought, not quite right for whatever I was doing that Sunday. But this would be really good for October, near the election. So here we are, October, near the election. What Can a Citizen Do by Dave Eggers and Sean Harris. What in the world can a citizen do? Who can a citizen be? A citizen is just like you. A citizen can plant a tree. A citizen can help a neighbor. A citizen can join a cause. A citizen can write a letter. This kid's writing one that says, "No trumpets." A citizen can help change laws. That's what this citizen's trying to do. Then it says, "Okay, trumpets," because the citizen changed their mind about the law. A citizen can right a wrong. A citizen can turn things around. A citizen can get things right side that have been upside down. A citizen should be engaged. A citizen should care and care. A citizen should build things, save things. A citizen can be a bear. Yes, a citizen can be a bear. A citizen can be a kid. A citizen can wear pink pants. A citizen cannot stay hid. A citizen's not what you are. A citizen is what you do. A citizen cannot forget the world is more than you. We're part of a society, one full of joy and pain. A land of latticed people, none of us the same. And if we help just one, help one lonely soul, we open doors, we bring in light, we bind us all and make us whole. So forget yourself a second, grab a shovel or a pen. Don't you doubt that you can. Everything makes an impact on a bigger big than you. And it all starts with the question, what can a citizen do? All right, thank you. You can go to your classes.
Or she, her, and I am a citizen. Each week, Unity Temple shares the collection evenly. One half supports the programs and missions of our congregation. This week, the other half goes to the Center for Common Ground. The Center for Common Ground is a nonpartisan Black and woman-led voting rights organization founded in 2018. Staff and volunteers work in voter suppression states where more than 20% of the registered voters are voters of color: Alabama, Arizona, Florida, Georgia, Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Texas. The Unity Temple Democracy in Action Vote Love team focused postcard writing in Georgia, Florida, and North Carolina, where we recently mailed over 4,700 highly personalized, colorful postcards to registered voters, encouraging them to vote. And we did that with 2 hurricanes, and I know that our cards have arrived because you can tell by the voter turnout. Democracy works best when everyone is invited to participate in it. Unfortunately, there is a stark contrast in whose voices get prioritized in elections. At the Center of Common Ground, the goal is to ensure every voter knows their voice and their votes matter. May we be transformed by our giving, and may the world be transformed by our gifts. Thank you.
We live in a time when the values of our democracy are threatened, and it's important that we, all of us, work to protect those values.
I care deeply about the UU principle of justice, equity, and compassion in human relations.
I care deeply. We live in a time when the values of our democracy are threatened, and it's important that we, all of us, work to protect those values.
I care deeply about the UU principle of justice, equity, and compassion in human relations.
I care deeply about gun violence.
I care deeply about the freedom to travel from state to state, living without fear of persecution.
We live in a time when the values of our democracy are threatened, and it's important that we, all of us, We live in a time when the values of our democracy are threatened, and it's important that we, all of us, work to protect those values.
I care deeply about the UU principle of justice, equity, and compassion in human relations.
I care deeply about gun violence.
I care deeply about the freedom to travel from state to state, living without fear of persecution.
I am passionate about building beloved community.
I care deeply about LGBTQ+ gender and reproductive justice.
I care deeply about immigration justice.
Climate justice is vital to me and to the planet.
I care deeply about the state of our democracy.
I care deeply about the problems with the criminal justice system in Illinois.
And I care deeply about our future.
Our UU values are inextricably connected to a healthy democracy.
Being involved in social justice issues through Unity Temple is what I do to be involved in the democratic process.
Our government impacts all of the things that are important to me in my life, and I want legislators who are working to build a democracy that we haven't yet fully realized.
We advocate for change by staying abreast of issues, attending rallies, sending letters, and meeting with our state legislators.
I feel like I need to be committed to learning about and dismantling systems of oppression.
In a democracy, protecting one's truth to live free from retribution is fundamental.
Inequities and corruption in our prison system are a priority for me because we in the United States lead the world in the number of people we incarcerate, the length of their sentences, and our rate of recidivism.
Bodily autonomy and self-determination are sacred rights.
To make our communities safe, we must invest resources into our communities to make them safe.
Migration is a very significant issue that we are facing across the world because of climate change, because of war, because of violence, because of poverty.
A few years ago, I would put together lists of people who had been killed in Chicago the previous week that were read during our joys and sorrows. And reading the stories of those tragedies in the paper made gun violence personal to me.
Speaking to our elected officials about the issues I care about is vital to shaping our democracy into a world that is livable and a fair place, no matter your gender, political affiliation, or who you love.
I feel very strongly that in order for democracy to work, we all have to participate.
Our democracy is precious beyond price. Our democracy has a heart and a soul that puts people and freedom first.
That's why we must use our vote to strengthen democracy for all of us.
Let's show up.
Let's show up.
Let's show up.
Let's show up.
Let's show up
For democracy.
Let's show up for democracy together.
Together.
Like so many Americans, the increasingly bitter partisan divide has exposed deep rifts in my extended family, especially on my wife's side. I know some of you are experiencing that far more painfully and closely in your immediate families. It feels like more and more families over these past years have been blown up through these political rifts. So last July, I was on our deck behind our home in Michigan, looking over the corn and the soybeans, with several of my wife's cousins and their spouses. For the past 8 years, one of these cousins on the deck typically fuses the name of Trump with idiot to describe people who follow Donald Trump. There was another cousin on the deck who came from the wing of the family that settled in Orange County after World War II, settled into a conservative political climate, eventually became more and more right-wing, where one of this cousin's siblings moved to Idaho because California had become much too liberal. While the cousin who fuses Trump and idiot together said to the Orange County cousin, across the deck so we could all hear, "So Harry," not his name, "I'm curious about what the right wing of the family thinks about the election." For those old enough to remember that old financial services ad where someone says the name of the company and everybody stops and listens, that's what happened on the deck. It's like the whole world, okay, just the deck, stopped. Everybody was listening. Everybody on that deck, besides the cousin who lobbed the bombshell across the deck, was desperately hoping this is the subject that will not come up today, please, please. But of course, up it came. So the California cousin paused for a moment as if considering this big, juicy piece of bait right there in front of him and said no comment. Waves, ripples of relief went across the deck, me included. Then some laughter. This family was not going to blow up at that moment on the deck. And it was a missed opportunity. Maybe it was smart of us to avoid this conversation that was sure to upset all of us, that was probably not so likely to have any of us actually listen to the person or people on the other side of the issue, this great blue and red divide. But we missed an opportunity for some actual dialogue, some actual engagement, as small as that opportunity might have been. I've been thinking this past week about Worship Associate Sybil Madison's opening words last week. She talked about Tara Brack's Dharma talk that was shared at Unity Temple's Mindful Reflection community a few weeks ago. Tara Brack talked about sitting with that part of ourselves that feels anxious, that feels fearful, that feels disconnected. Sitting with that part of ourselves is part of a Buddhist practice, that part of ourselves that we don't really want to sit with. Sybil suggested that if we can sit with those parts of ourselves, if we can become better acquainted with them and grow in our compassion for ourselves, our whole selves, our whole imperfect selves, then we might be better equipped to sit with those across the great political divide and hear their stories and their feelings. We can grow in compassion for ourselves and for others so that we can create a better world, so that we can create, in Sybil's words, the inclusive multiracial democracy that we want. And though it has never been harder, at least in my lifetime, our country needs some deep listening, which is this month's worship theme. We need some deep listening across the great divide. And what I know is I can't force others to listen deeply to me, but I can do my internal work so that I might be able to listen to them. This is the part of the equation that I control. And I hope Saturday going up to Wisconsin that maybe there'll be even just one of that kind of engagement across a divide. The call to listen across divides feels especially important for me to hear because my identities give me so much privilege. There are many people with less privilege who may understandably, wisely conclude that they can't risk trying to enter into conversations across the divide, that there is too much risk of harm, words that harm, worse that harm. It may feel dangerous to expose a marginalized identity to others' words and worse. And so I find no fault in people who feel this way and steer clear of that kind of encounter. And for me, this means that people like me who have a lot of privilege maybe need to work more to be open to those encounters. Well, as I think about this election, I find myself thinking a lot about citizenship. At its core, citizenship is about engagement. It's about responsibility. As that wonderful book for the Message for All Ages today says, citizenship it's not who you are. Citizenship is what you do. So each of us, I think, can think about ways that we can engage with the community, ways that we, our unique selves, can fulfill the responsibility of being a citizen. Citizenship is not about status, legal status, or anything else. It is about what you do in community. Citizenship recognizes that we are not just individuals, but we are also part of something larger than ourselves, that our own well-being is bound up with the well-being of others. Citizenship is founded in a belief that there is a common good, and that common good can help everyone, me included, you included, everyone thrive. Citizenship means remembering and acting as if this is true. As What a Citizen Can Do says, a citizen cannot forget that the world is more than you. So for me, I believe in the common good, and I believe in a definition of the common good that includes everybody. Not everyone, of course, in American history has understood the common good this way. Our nation's double original sins of genocide against indigenous peoples and enslaving blacks kidnapped from Africa and their descendants, those things are grounded in a very narrow view of who should be included in the common good. In fact, that was such a narrow understanding that our constitutionally originally defined citizens, the people who matter, who have power, as white males with some means, some property. So efforts to expand this common good understanding have happened ever since in our country's history. They've always been, sooner or later, met with backlash. The Know-Nothing movement of the 1850s, ironically called the Native American Party. Anti-Chinese exclusion efforts in the late 1800s, Jim Crow segregation, anti-Semitic rants of Father Coughlin and others, Japanese American internment, the current anti-immigration fervor that is being used for electoral purposes, the list goes on. And the only way that these worst impulses to narrow and restrict who's in the common good haven't triumphed is because people have fought back. Blacks, indigenous people, women at the forefront fighting injustice and inequities with allies, and this is what's made a difference. Widening the circle of who's understood to be included in the common good has been on the ballot in every single election in the United States, regardless of whether this election widens or narrows who's counted in the common good. The work remains the same. The work that our children's book puts so beautifully, to open doors, to bring in light, to bind us all and make us whole. Citizenship is a concept that works not only in these wider communities of municipality and state and nation and even world. It also works in smaller communities, communities like Unity Temple. We can ask ourselves here that same question that we ask ourselves as citizens: how can I engage? How can I fulfill my unique responsibility to this community? And so we each find how we want to answer that. We each find ways to engage, to fulfill our responsibility that brings us meaning and joy. This is citizenship at Unity Temple. Our annual fund drive, now nearing its end, I'm really confident of that, is an opportunity for citizenship. So is contemplating how we might share our gifts and talents. The video we saw just a minute ago, to me, is an expression of citizenship at Unity Temple. Each Unity Temple person featured in that video shared how the values of Unity Temple, the values of Unitarian Universalism, help them care deeply about a justice cause, help them work with others in the congregation to promote that cause. They are showing up together, and they're showing up with others at and beyond Unity Temple to make the world more just and more democratic. And what a beautiful thing. So one last thing I want to say today. I want to acknowledge that, of course, this is a highly anxious time, and it's on the heels of a highly anxious 8 years. I certainly personally feel the anxiety. And citizenship to me includes the responsibility to try to navigate that civic anxiety we take in, we internalize to the best of our ability so that we can keep on showing up. The more challenging the times, the more anxious we feel, the harder it is, the less perfect we do it, but the more important it is to try to do our best. And there's no one-size-fits-all way to deal with anxiety during this election cycle. Different things work for different people. I'm trying to, for me, spend some more time sitting with myself, centering. I'm trying to spend more time with family and friends. I'm trying to find that fine line between being informed and lapsing into doom scrolling, or I gotta check the polls 18 times a day. I'm trying to avoid overconsumption in various ways. I'm trying to find ways to do something constructive, like going up to Wisconsin on Saturday. And I am doing none of these things perfectly. I'm doing none of these things perfectly consistently. Some days, some moments are better than others, some are worse. And it's all okay. I'm doing my best. I'm trying to be gentle to myself and then to think, well, in this next moment, in this next day, I can try again. So find out what works for you. Keep at it. Don't give up. The basic truth is that whatever happens on November 5th, no matter what happens in the aftermath of the election, our nation does need us. Nina spoke the truth in those opening words. Our country needs me, and it needs all of us. And it needs us for the long haul. So let's keep showing up together.
I am young, but I remember it was not so long ago. In a line so bright and shiny, this is how the story goes. In the kingdom there was chaos, and the land was filled with fear. There was hatred, there was envy, in between the rich and poor. Oh, the water's rising, how will we get to the other side? Many hearts are broken, but we ain't got so far to go. No, we ain't got so far to go. In the den of prostitution, to a girl both frail and weak, a child was born who had no father, so she left it on the street. But the child was raised by strangers who loved and fed and taught him well. And when he saw the land in darkness, something changed inside himself. Oh, the water's rising, how will we get to the other shore? Many hearts are broken, but we ain't got so far to go. No, we ain't got so far to go. Then it came the revolution, and the child was filled with fire. And he led us on to victory, and he seemed so strong and wise. But the big fish ate the small ones, it's the way of history. And all the wild ones came for vengeance, I return in mystery. I return in mystery. I miss you more than ever. This is not where I belong. When I see my baby dancing, I will know my work is done. When you hear that guitar playing, you won't have so far to go. No, you won't have so far to go. No, we ain't got so far to go.
Our closing hymn today is Turn the World Around, and I have an advisory for those of you who read music. Don't read it today because we're not doing it like it shows in the hymnal. Look up here. Let's rise in body and spirit and join in singing Turn the World Around. Our closing words today come from Emily Gage. May we open our hearts and minds to one another and the world. May we let ourselves be changed by the stories around us. May we deeply listen and be deeply listened to and be held in silence and love, and may it always be so. And I invite you to join in the chalice extinguishing words. Carry the flame of peace and love until we meet again.
What does it mean? It all means nothing if you don't stand up for something. You can't just talk the talk, you gotta walk the walk, yes you do. It all means nothing if you don't stand up for something. And I'll stand up for you, and I'll stand up for you. You do the best that you can do. then you can look in the mirror, proud of who's looking back at you. Define the life you're living, not by what you take, but what you're giving. And if you bet on love, there's no way you'll ever lose. Take a stand, make a stand for what's right. It's always worth the fight. It all means nothing if you don't stand up for something. You can't just talk the talk, you gotta walk that walk, yes you do. It all means nothing if you don't stand up for something. And I'll stand up for you, and I'll stand up for you.